Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today in our Dealing with Debt workshop. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day to talk about this important topic. I am sure it's going to be affecting a lot of us in the next few months, especially. When I have you take a look at the handouts that are attached here to this webinar, we will be referring to some of those as we go through this. First, I want to introduce myself. My name is Taralyn Rose. I am the Certified Financial Fitness Coach for California Coast Credit Union. And I know that I sound like I'm 19 years old, but I just want to get this out of the way. I am going to be 50 years old here coming up in June. I have 28-year-old twin daughters. So everything that you can do, I have done. I started this in 2008 with $46,000 in credit card debt. So when I tell you that I've done everything wrong, I can tell you. All the things we're going to talk about today are tools that I have done in my own life to help me deal with my own debt. So I assure you, don't let the sound of my voice fool you. I have plenty of experience with this topic. So we're going to talk today about dealing with debt. As we go along, please go ahead and type in your questions. We will take time to answer those questions as we can. Otherwise, this is going to be me talking for the next 40 minutes. So let's get started on dealing with debt. Four-letter word keeps us from reaching our financial goals. It can end marriages, it can damage friendships, it can overwhelm lives. Creditors charge us outrageous amounts of money for the privilege of getting something now when we don't have the funds available to get something that we need, something that we want. And there's so much stuff out there that we can want. Our culture today is all about bigger, better, faster, more. Right? We have to constantly bombarded by advertising that shows us a world where that faster car gets us to better places. The right clothes propel us to stardom. A bigger house is a symbol of success. And expensive technology is a necessary requirement for daily living. I just saw a Samsung Galaxy Fold cell phone selling for $1,900. Just going over in 1943, the total American credit card debt was zero. We just didn't have credit cards at that time. It climbed in 40 years to over $66,000. And as of the end of 2019, we owed over $1,093,000,000 in revolving credit card debt. The average American carries over $6,700. So we're going to talk today about how to deal with that. And there are four things that you're going to need to look at in order to deal with debt. And we're trying to get my PowerPoint working so we can get over to the next sheet, which is talking about awareness, setting up goals, creating your plan, and have the determination to stick to the plan that you create. So let's talk about the very first step, which is creating that awareness. There's a couple of things I want to take a look at in this area. One, how much do you owe? So we know what our starting point is. What are you buying with your credit cards? And what causes you to overspend and use those credit cards? So the first thing we're going to talk about is how much do you owe? This is a crucial step because it's so easy to get lost in the total that we owe. We owe $1,000 on this credit card, $500 on this credit card, $2,000 on this credit card, that we kind of don't see that full number. Believe me, I had no idea that I owed $46,000 until I actually sat down and wrote it out. So we're going to have you gather all of your statements from all of your creditors, and you're going to go through, write down the name, the balance, the interest rate, and the payment. In that Excel book that you see, there is one called a creditor list. In that list, you're going to pull in all that information. That helps us see where you are starting. What is the total that you owe? And also taking a look at that total interest rate that you're paying. That's one of the things that you usually have to go to the third page of your statements. They bury it on the third page, so you don't really see what that interest rate is. But most department store credit cards are charging you over 25% for the privilege of buying those shoes. So you're going to go and write that number down and take a look at what all that information is. The next thing that we're going to do is take a look at what debt is costing you. This is, we're going to go a little more deeper dive into that statement and take a look at the last payment that you made. I want you to write down the payment. write down how much of your payment went to interest and how much of that payment went towards principal. One of the things we want to take a look at is how much are you actually paying for those credit cards. If you have a $1,000 balance with an 18% interest rate, the total interest that you owe each month is $15. And if your minimum payment is only $20, then that principal balance of your debt is only going down $5 a month. It's going to take 7 years and 10 months to pay off that original balance of $1,000, and the total interest is $862. I can think of a lot better things to do with $862 than pay for interest. So we're writing this information down, and again, there is a couple of handouts on here on that Excel log. I want you going in and filling that information in. You should have those statements together. Now we're going to go a deeper dive into those credit card statements. I want you taking a look at what you are typically using those credit cards for. And you might have to go even a little bit deeper, because I go look at my Amazon Rewards credit card and I look at a charge for Amazon. It doesn't tell me what I bought. So I have to go back into Amazon and look at, okay, I bought my protein powders, I bought a cute outfit, I bought some food, I bought some things for the house. We want you using there's another log on here that breaks down, it's called a credit card autopsy. Hopefully it's on that list, we're looking at it. You can take a moment to go pull up that credit card autopsy. It's in that Excel workbook, should be somewhere in there. What are you buying on credit? So that's what that bottom tab looks at. What are you buying on credit? You'll see all these different categories. So if you take a look at each of those statements that you have from that first category, the first task that we had you do, write everything down and take a look at what you're using those credit cards for. If you used it for buying groceries, if you used it for going out to eat, buying coffee, buying gas, buying for fun, did you buy tickets to the last concert? Looking at clothes. So all these different things that we use those credit cards on, I want you really taking a look at those purchases. Did you want it? Did you need it? And I want you looking at this information so you have a better awareness of where you're using your credit cards for. Again, Amazon is one of my nemesis. I go in and it's really easy to buy things there and it goes directly to my credit card, but I want to make sure that I'm sticking within my plan that I have. Okay, so that's a really important step, is looking at that deep dive credit card autopsy. What are you using those credit cards for? Now we're going to go even deeper into the psychology of why we get into debt, because there's a lot of different things that are going to cause us to use those credit cards, and we have to really pay attention to that information so that we can overcome it, create a plan to overcome it. So we're going to talk about emotions. We're looking at those emotions, and there is in that Excel workbook, there is an emotional log. And I want you to think about some of the emotional reasons why you may be going out and using that credit card. One of the most common ones, especially if you've got kids, is I feel so guilty that I missed their soccer practice. And so I will go and take them out to pizza, but I don't have the money, so I'm just going to charge it to my credit card. Or you have the celebratory, we won the Super Bowl, where are we going? Everybody wants to go to Disneyland and I don't have the money, so we're going to charge it onto the credit card. Or I work so hard and I'm really tired, I just don't feel like cooking, so I'm going to go use that credit card. Or I just broke up and I'm really sad, so I go hang out with my girlfriends and we go shopping. So those are some of those emotions. So one of the things that you can do is use this emotional log, and when you go to purchase something and you're using that credit card, pay attention to what you're feeling when you're using that credit card. What are you thinking? What were you doing right before? Right? Who are you talking to? Sometimes we have this emotional reaction to family. We're really stressed, and so we go out because we're just so stressed about dealing with family. And then, is this a want or a need? Notate the date, notate the time. One of the things you may see is on Fridays, you're really exhausted, you had a long work week, so we're going to go out, hang out with the friends, and go use that credit card to have a good time. So we're using that emotional log to really pay attention to some of the reasons why we're using that credit card and the emotional triggers that might cause us to use those credit cards. The other thing we're going to take a look at is our environment and the image. This is the keeping up with the Joneses. This is dealing with all the advertising that bombards us. I know there's a car advertising on TV with Matthew McConaughey. Who doesn't want to be as cool as Matthew McConaughey and get that cool car, right? And then the keeping up with the Joneses. This is looking at your next door neighbor and they're going on vacations all the time and they have the brand new car and they just bought all new furniture and they have the boat sitting in the backyard. You know, a lot of times those people are using debt also, using credit to get all those wonderful things. And they may be teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, but you have no idea. So one of the things I tell members when they come in is don't live up to your next door neighbor's image. Live within the income that you have so that you are staying within that income. The other one you have on here is the entitlement. This is the people, I work really, really hard every single day. I deserve to go on vacation. You absolutely do. But I want you to make sure that you are saving for that vacation and living within that income that you have. If you are having to charge your tickets to go on that cruise, then you're not living within your income. You don't deserve to spend more than what you earn. And that is typically what credit cards are helping you do, is live beyond that income that you have. So you are entitled to live within that income that you have, right? So remember that. The other thing, so again, the deep dive into our habits. This is one of those things that we're not even really aware of. There is actually a neurological pathway that happens when you do things over and over. Your mind says, hey, you do this all the time. Let me just create this pathway. You don't have to think about it anymore. This is those people who it's your day off and you're driving somewhere and you realize that you are still driving to work. I have done this. So we're looking at how do you overcome those habits? It might be every single Sunday, I go to Soup Plantation after church. And I don't even think about it. We just go and spend $40 every single Sunday because we've always done this. How do I overcome that habit? You have to be aware of the habits before you can overcome them. So this is, I go and I get coffee every single day before I go into work, so I have the energy to get through the day. That is a habit. How do you overcome it? So being aware of the emotions, the environment, the image, this entitlement, the habits. Once you become aware of it, then we can create some tools to help you overcome it. Next thing we're going to talk about is the step 2. You have to set goals. And I feel this is a really important part in dealing with debt. It helps you look at your spending a little bit differently. When you have something that you are working toward, like my goal is I want to go on vacations with my kids and create these amazing memories, right? So if I'm taking a look at my spending and I'm like, every single Sunday, I go to Soup Plantation, is that helping me reach my goal of going on vacation? No, it is not. So why am I doing it? So what I can do is go in and really sit down and think about what I want to accomplish, right? What do I want my money to do for me? And once I have that written down and I have these steps to get there, then I can actually take the steps to achieve those goals, and it makes me look at my spending differently. So instead of doing $40 a week, $160 a month going to Soup Plantation, I can take that money and put it towards my goal. So if my goal is to be debt-free, that's a great, great goal. And I want you to focus on that, but I want you to break it down into smaller steps. I want you to be able to monitor your progress, have an end date. So we talk about setting SMART goals, and we're talking about specific, measurable, attainable, relevant to you, and having a time frame so we can measure your progress. So it's not, I just want to be debt free. It's, I want to pay off $6,000 in debt in the next 6 months, right? And I'm talking about attainable. The average person that comes to see me owes about $10,000 in credit card debt. And they come in and say, I want to be debt free in a year. Okay, that's great. But $10,000 in 1 year means an additional $800 going towards your debt payments. That's a really hard amount to come up with. So how can I do that? Is that something that I can achieve? Is that attainable for me with my current income? that's a really hard one. So we talk about setting more attainable goals and making sure I put that in my plan so I can achieve it. I don't want you to set up a goal that is absolutely unattainable because you're setting yourself up to fail. I want you to succeed in dealing with your debt. I want you to have that end time so I can measure my progress and then I can celebrate and set more goals. So that is one of the most important things that we can do is setting up these goals so that I can see where my money is going and make sure I have it going where I want it to go. The next thing we're going to talk about is setting up the plan. So this is setting up a concrete plan with the income that I have. And I'm going to start with my net income. There's another sheet on that Excel workbook called the plan. So we're going to use that 1st January, just pretend that's March, and you're going to go in and start writing things down. Write your income, write down your monthly fixed bills, write down your monthly variable expenses. You have all the information from your credit card, so we can put that on there. And we're going to look at that bottom line. So we're looking at setting up these funds, setting up this plan with the goal that you have in place so that we can reach those goals, right? So one of the things we have to take a look at that I feel is vital to getting out of debt is you have to include in your plan money putting into these periodic expense accounts so that I am planning ahead for these things that I typically use credit cards for. I can tell you this periodic expenses are typically where I see debt come from. Your washer and dryer breaks down. We go to Home Depot and we charge it. We have tires for the car that we have to purchase. I go to Discount Tire and I charge it. I need to get a new TV. I go to Best Buy and I charge it. Need to get a new computer. I charge it. I need to go on vacation. I don't have the funds. I charge it. Christmas is coming. I don't have the money. I charge it. So these periodic expenses for me are one of the most important things that you can do. People always say all the time, oh, I've got $1,000. I'm going to put it all towards my debt. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, you put all this extra money that you got towards your debt and your car breaks down and you have to replace the motor mount and the wheel bearings and it's going to cost you $700. If you don't have money set aside for that, the first thing that you're going to do is reach for the credit card. So the number one rule for getting out of credit card debt is to stop using your credit cards. If you don't set money aside for these periodic expenses, you will never be debt free. I'm going to say that again. If you don't save for the things that you usually use your credit cards for, you will never be debt free. So this is a really important task for you to take a look at what you spend on occasional and periodic expenses. I actually have 7 different accounts that I have money being set aside for. Home repair and items. This is buying a new cell phone, buying a new computer, buying a new TV, replacing the blender in my kitchen, replacing the sheets and the mattress in my room. All these different things that I don't do all the time, but I definitely will do in my lifetime. So these are actual expenses that you are going to have, and we have to include them in your plan so that you can be debt free. The auto repairs, this is a really important one too. These are the things that I take a look at, and I'm looking at people who are using their credit cards for the tires. They're using the credit card for the brakes that you have to get done. If you have a car, you are going to have auto expenses. So if you take a look at your Excel, all the Excel lists, there is a periodic expense calculator. This is a really great tool for going in there and taking a look at breaking down these periodic expenses into a more manageable amount. There's another handout that is called Calculating Periodic Expenses. It's a PDF in that list. And what that does is it gets you thinking about all those things that you use your credit cards for, right? So the home repairs, we kind of touched on some of those, auto repairs. We're also going to talk about clothing. So I play volleyball a lot. I have to get a new pair of shoes every year, and a good pair of volleyball shoes is about $120. I have to do that every year if I'm going to continue playing, and I am going to continue playing. I'll also take a look at people who run, people who have kids, and you have to get them new shoes and new backpacks for back to school. The other thing that we're going to take a look at is gifts. This is one of those categories where people always underestimate what they think they spend. They come in when we do our financial fitness and they think they spend about $1,000. And then I have them complete a gift grid that goes over all the different events and holidays and birthdays and anniversaries that you go through throughout the year. And the total for the last member I just did, $3,600 a year. When I filled out my gift grid, it was over $5,000 a year. That breaks down to a lot and explains why I owed $46,000 in credit card debt. So I love going through and setting up these different accounts. At California Coast, I have 7 different savings accounts. I have them titled with each of those categories, and I'm setting money aside every single paycheck. If I do $1,000 a year, I get paid bi-weekly. That's $42 a paycheck that's going into my auto repair savings account. This is really, really important to getting out of debt, is making sure I'm setting money aside. The other thing we're looking at is the expected and big unexpected. So little background on me: in the past 10 years, I have had back surgery, Bell's palsy, chronic fatigue, car accident, 3 blood infections, and shoulder surgery. Lots and lots of medical expenses. We're also talking about the unexpected. A guy ran through a red light and plowed into my sweet little Chevy HHR, completely totaled it. I had the $500 out-of-pocket expense. All the things, people have fires, have earthquakes, floods, pet expenses. We just paid $5,000 for a pet surgery on my dog's eyes. So these are things that we don't really expect to happen, but I want you to set aside some money for it just in case. Okay, so those are the periodic expenses, one of the most important things that we can do. So we have a question that is coming up. Is there an account we can open to put money into for periodic expenses? An account we can't access all the time, but can access when we need it. Again, I actually have 7 different savings accounts here at California Coast Credit Union, and I've titled them auto repairs, home repairs, vacation, gifts. It gives that money a purpose and helps me. When I go buy something like my auto, I had to get oil change. It was $40. I charge it to my credit card, go home, transfer $40 out of my auto repair savings, and I pay that off. I have it accessible because these things do happen fairly often, especially gifts. My gifts one, I want to be able to access so I can transfer, because I swear I have birthdays every single month. So I want to make sure that I can get to the funds. These are accounts that you are going to spend the money. So we're setting money aside for things you know are going to happen. I don't want to have it someplace where I can't easily get to the funds. The emergency savings, I do want to have somewhere, and you can open a separate account. You can put it in a different savings, put it in a different credit union or bank. We don't want you to do that, but if that is going to help you get to where you need to be, then that's one way that you can do that. Okay, next thing we're going to take a look at, there's a breakdown here, kind of shows you how to fill out that periodic expense calculator. So we have the $500 for household repair and items. I don't think that's enough. If you're a homeowner, you are going to be responsible for replacing the washer and dryer, for the refrigerator, for the windows, for the backyard, for everything that's going to go wrong in your house. You might need a little bit more than that. Medical, dental, vision, this is copays. I have a $100 copay for the MRI. If I actually have to get into the hospital and I'm admitted, I have a $300 a day copay when I go to the doctor. So if I'm actually admitted to the hospital, I have to wear contacts. So I'm setting money aside so I can buy the contacts every year. Here we have the DMV renewal, the auto repairs, vacation, clothing, gifts, holidays, hair, people who go and get highlights or something. And then fun, this is, I want you to include fun in your life, right? So I'm not saying stay home and don't do anything. I'm saying make sure you're planning for it so we're not buying your tickets on credit cards. So I'm setting aside money every pay period. So when I want to buy a ticket to go, say, Blake Shelton, like we just did last month, that I have the funds ready for it and I'm not just relying on credit card to pay for it. So all of this stuff that we have on here, which isn't very much, $612 a month. That's a lot. I get paid bi-weekly, $282 a paycheck that I need to set aside. But there is nothing on this list that I am not going to do. So this is a really important part to creating that plan. And here we have a breakdown of how that looks. Now we're going to talk about, now we've got this information, we've created the plan, we have a positive cash flow, we're setting money aside for our expenses so we stop relying on credit cards. Now we're going to talk about what is the best way to pay off that debt. And this is going to vary based on your current financial situation, right? So if my plan has a positive cash flow, then I'm going to look at the credit card that has the highest interest rate first. Right? So this is called the Avalanche method. I'm going to look at and pay off the credit card with the highest interest rate so that next month I don't have to pay 26.99% interest. I've paid that off. Then I go after the next one. You're going to pay the minimum payment to all your credit cards and attack one at a time. That is how you're going to be more effective with your payments. I don't want you sending $20 extra to all 10 of your credit cards. I want you to take that $200 and put it just towards one and get that credit card paid off one at a time. So again, positive cash flow, I'm going after the card with the highest interest rate first. There's a really cool website called powerpay.org that I'm going to go in and put in all my credit card information, the balance, the minimum payment, the interest rate. It'll show me that debt avalanche method. And that will show me how quickly I can get that debt paid off. When I put in my $46,000, it said it was going to take me 10 years and 7 months to pay off all that high interest credit card. When I did this debt avalanche and paid off the high interest rate and rolled that payment up to the next one, it showed me that I could be paid off completely in 3 years and 5 months. So there was definitely light at the end of my tunnel. Now, if I have a negative cash flow and I am struggling to get through to my next pay period, I am not able to get to the next pay period, I'm relying on credit cards, I'm going to take a look at my credit card with the smallest balance and the highest payment. So I just had a member where she owed $3,000 on 2 credit cards. One was making her pay a minimum of $100 and the other one was making her pay a payment of $50. So if I'm trying to improve my cash flow, I'm going to go after the one that I can open up that dollar amount for me so that once that's paid off, I have a little more breathing room. So if I've got a car loan payment of $250 on a $1,000 balance and a credit card payment of a $1,000 balance with a $25 minimum payment, paying off the credit card, it is going to help interest rate wise, but cash flow wise, $25 isn't going to make much of a difference. If I pay off the car loan, that's $250 that I can now use and breathe and buy groceries and not rely on credit cards. So whatever you're trying to accomplish, that's going to drive how we attack that debt. And we have all that information together because you gathered all the data together, right? So we have all this information and we can actually come up with a plan to pay that debt off. The last step to being debt-free is sticking to your plan. And that's really, really hard. Again, with all the advertising, all the things that come up, you're going to have moments that are going to take you away from your plan. And I love these questions. This really helped me when I was going through and looking at my spending and saying, okay, do I really need this or is it just something that I want? Right? That really cute black leather jacket. Do I really need it? Going to soup plantation every Sunday. Do I really need to do that? And I can tell you the answer is no. I don't need any more muffins. I can move forward and use that money to help me pay my debt down, put money into my vacation, whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish. The question, if it's not helping me reach my goal, why am I doing this? That's where you go into those psychological, the emotional, the advertising, the family, the friends that are pushing us to do things that are taking away from your goal. And then my favorite question, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if I don't buy this today? If I don't use my credit card, which is taking me away from my goal, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Right? I mean, there are some times that there are major emergencies. If there's a flood and you don't have money set aside and everything's going to be destroyed, okay. But if we have a plan in place, that's kind of what we're looking for. Plan ahead for those things. Worst thing that's going to happen. This is one of those questions. I had a guy come in. They wanted to be debt free. And one of the things we have them do is we track their expenses. And they came in the next month and they'd used a credit card to buy a chainsaw for $300 at 26.99%. Remember, the number one rule for being debt free is stop using the credit cards. So I asked them these questions. Do they want this? Do they need this? Oh, we really needed it. Is it helping them reach their goals of being debt free? Well, no. So why did they do it? Well, they had to cut down the tree limbs. What is the worst thing that's going to happen? Their neighbor was threatening to sue them. Okay, that's a really big consequence. Is there another way that they could have gotten that chainsaw? And when I do this, I usually get, oh, you can rent it, you can borrow it, you can go on Facebook and, hey, anybody got one of these? You don't have to do $300 for a one-time purchase and a one-time use of a chainsaw. There are other ways to do it. It's thinking outside the box and going through these questions and really making sure that you are trying to get away from it. It's really easy to use the credit cards. It's really, really easy to go in because it's an easy swipe. I've got what I need. But is there another way? That's a really good question. The other one is having determination to stick to your plan, knowing where your money is going. We do recommend that you track your expenses as you go along. I did not know that I was spending $600 in groceries and $300 on meals out until I tracked. And that wasn't helping me reach my goals. I had a member who was spending $200 on wine, on all these wine of the month clubs, and they're wanting to be debt free. It's like, okay, maybe we can cut one of them. There's always ways, right? It's your plan. Once you see where the money is going, you can hopefully make some decisions about changing it. We want you to stay on track. It's your plan. If you're not staying aware of where your money is going and seeing how it's taking you away from your goals, you can't make any changes. And being realistic about what you're going to do. This is one of my favorite parts of determination, is being realistic. I had this couple come in, they wanted to save to buy a home. And so they were spending $600 a month on meals out. They tracked and they $600. And they said, no, we're only going to, we're not going to go out anymore. We're not going to spend anything. And I was like, okay. They went and tracked and they spent $300. And I said, okay, that's realistic. Like, no. We're going to spend zero. We're not going to go out at all. And then they tracked again, $300. Realistically, they're going to spend $300, right? If they don't want to make those changes, I don't care. This is your money. You decide what you want to do with it, but be realistic about what you're going to do. I am going to spend $20 a week on meals out, realistically. I'm not going to change that. So if I want to reach my goals faster, I'm going to look for other places to increase my income or decrease my expenses. I'm going to say no to other things. So that's my other one, saying no when you need to, so you can say yes to your plan. If your goal is to be debt free and someone comes in and say, hey, we got this weekend getaway to go to the spa, it's only going to cost you $200. You don't have the money, so you would have to charge it. Is that helping you reach your goal? If it's not, why are you doing it? Is there another thing that you can do? My goal is to be debt free, so I'm going to say no to that plan, and I'll have everybody over and do my own spa at my house. I don't need to spend $200 because that $200 can go towards paying off one of my credit cards. If that's my goal, then I need to say no to those things that come up so I can say yes to that goal. You have that control. You have the power to make those choices. It's always a choice. You get to determine where you want your money to go, and asking yourself these questions and having the determination will help you achieve it. Some things to remember as you're going through and looking at your plan, looking at your spending, looking at your debt, and hopefully it's going down while your savings go up, is being flexible with your spending. Understand that if you spend more in one category, if you want to stick to your plan, you've got to decrease it someplace else, right? That's black and white, bottom line. Be aware of that bottom line so that if I have $100 extra a month that I have to spend in rehabilitation for my shoulder after surgery, I have a finite amount of money that I have to spend that I have earned. So if I am looking at my bottom line and I have an increase of $100 on something that I have to do, then I'm going to go look and see where can I reduce by $100 so that I can make sure I'm reaching my goals, because that is what's driving where you spend your money. What are your goals? What do you want to do with your money? And if I am staying aware of that bottom line and I'm making sure I'm not spending more than I earn, then I am going to reach those goals. That's the part, is we have to live within our income. And if we set up this plan and we're setting money aside for periodic expenses, then we are going to get debt free. That for me is the number one goal, is making sure that you're planning ahead for those things that we usually use those credit cards for. That is how you're going to deal with debt and make sure that you get out of debt. As you're increasing your savings, your debt payments go down because you're not relying on credit cards to pay for those things. Eventually, you will be debt free. So that is actually all that we have. We went through this fast because I don't have a lot of questions going on in person. That's all you need to know to understand your debt, overcome your debt, be debt free. Are there any other questions out there? I'm going to put my information on here. So if you want to speak with me directly, this is a free service that California Coast offers to our members. We will meet with you one-on-one and talk about your plan, help you set up a plan, give you all kinds of handouts and ideas, suggestions, ways to increase your cash flow, decrease your debt, reach your financial goals, whatever they may be. We also do one-on-one credit reviews. So my direct phone number is on there. You can call me, you can email me, I will send you some information. We have another question. Will we get a PDF of the presentation? Yes, at the end of it, you're going to have a summary emailed to you. You'll have access to the PowerPoint, access to all the handouts. If you do not get that, write down my email. I am happy to send that to you, but it will automatically be sent to everybody who is logged in at the time. We have another question. What is a credit review that I just mentioned? Oh, I love this. This is a 1-hour one-on-one review of your personal report. Well, we will sit down with you and go over all the different factors that impact your credit score. We will review your personal report with you and give you step-by-step instructions on how you can improve your score and get above 750, which is my goal for all of our members. So that is, just give me a call. We can schedule that one-on-one appointment and make you a credit expert in 1 hour. It's a fantastic service. I love helping members improve their scores. That's actually a really good way of helping you get out of debt. If you're paying 26.99% on all of your debts, and we can improve your score and get you to 2.88, 0%, lower your car loan payments. There's a lot of different ways that we can go in to improve that cash flow. And once you have more money, obviously that's going to help you save and pay the debt down faster. So having a good credit score is a really big help to becoming debt free if we can get you into the lower interest rates. So that is a free service also that California Coast Credit Union offers as a benefit of membership with the credit union. We don't charge anything for the financial fitness coaching or the credit review service. Again, we just want to help our members be successful in any way that we can. We felt this was a really good way to do that, is helping our members set up the plan to reach whatever those goals are. So thank you for asking that question. It's one of my favorite things to do with our members. Any other questions that are out there? Thank you so much, you guys, for taking time out of your day to attend. If there are any other questions, again, email me, call me. I am happy to answer any questions at any time. We'll look forward to talking to you one-on-one with that debt. I'm happy to assist you in any of these steps. Again, thank you. My name is Taralyn Rose, California Coast Credit Union. Have a fantastic day.